Welcome to Grey Primer, a weekly show that's mostly about miniatures. My name is Nick, I'm your host, and in this week's episode we're back with Shieldwolf miniatures and the Sisters of Faith. So over the last year I've featured quite a bit of content from Shieldwolf miniatures. I've done some of their sci-fi stuff, some of their fantasy stuff, like the tanks, I've done orcs, I've done the Sisters of Talliarius, and this is the Sisters of Faith, so this is a back into their sci-fi range again, and the closest equivalent to Warhammer's Battle Sisters. You get 20 in this box though, which is really cool. Just, straight off the bat, that's really cool. And their box, of course, is, as I'm now getting used to with Shieldwolf miniatures, it features nice art, way too detailed contents listing, and no images of the minis. That's not entirely fair. I think the orc one had pictures of the minis on that box. So the other thing that I'd like to look at maybe in the new year is looking at their goblins, look at some of their, I think they have like ogres as well. I think they have some character models for their sci-fi range. So I want to get into some more of that and see how that compares to other brands. But for now, let's have a look at the Sisters of Faith and see how they measure up. Back soon. Great iconography on the Shieldwolf miniature stuff. Really some cool design touches. Let's get into this box. Okay, so it comes with a bunch of 25mm bases, and we have... that's a duplicate sprue, and that is a triplicate sprue. Gotta say, their hard plastic stuff is beautifully designed. They come out of they cast really well. There's always tons of options for arms and the way you position them. Because they're all ball and socket, you can have a lot of fun with how you angle these arms and stuff, how they hold their weapons. Add in that bit of personality to them. And these are designed by a Greek company. Shieldwolf Miniatures is based in Greece. As I saw in their other kits, there are tons of options here for the way the hands are. Melee weapons and heads and things like that. I don't think I saw any heads on that first sprue. No. So the heads are all in this second one here. You can see a nice range of different hairstyles, and you've got hood options there as well. You see these nicely detailed pauldrons across the top. Some more sort of religious bits and pieces there, because this would be like connected to a religious militant order. Well, there's three scary words together. But now we get into the real stuff. We got the serious weapons down below. I guess the equivalent of like flamers and bolters. Maybe shotguns there as well. Not sure, I'll have to have a closer look at those. And really nicely detailed backpacks and everything. You can see how easily this would just slot into any sort of Adepta Sororitas army. But let's just see what they look like built up. I'll be back in a sec. And here they are, the fully built Sisters of Faith. And here's an image from my Instagram account, which is Grey Primer Social, showing the completely deconstructed and exploded kind of look of what the entire kit looks like. And as you can see, there are just hundreds of bits here. Absolutely hundreds of bits. And you're left with hundreds of bits and pieces as well. You really can bulk out sort of a Adepta Sororitas, Sisters of Battle kind of bits box with all of the extras that you're left with here. But let's have a look at some examples of the fully built Sisters of Faith from Shieldwolf Miniatures. And straight away you can see that they are really nicely sculpted. They've gone together very well. They've got lovely sort of flowing details here where the wind is catching them. They look to all intents and purposes like Adepta Sororitas figures, and they'd certainly fit really nicely in as proxies. The hands, these open hands are kind of strange. I guess the easiest way you could actually use them is to rotate them and have them sort of have the left hand supporting the weapon and have it sort of cross body. But I wanted to sort of play around a little bit with the poses and have the likes of this one sort of pointing off this way single-handed. But it does leave me with a hand over here that doesn't really know what to do with itself because it's kind of sculpted in a way that is ready to support a weapon. But still, I liked it. And some of these I have drilled the barrels. Others, as you can see here, are so tiny that it was going to be a real struggle. I have since got some very, very fine drill bits for my pin vise, so I'm probably going to go back to these and just to try to drill out all these barrels. Here's another one, and again you can sort of see this left hand not really knowing what to do with itself, but the pose is very strong. I did get this one drilled, and I like the ponytail and everything, and certainly the expressions on the face are very much Sisters of Battle. And I don't mind the positioning of the hand here. I like the rifle up, beside the head. I think it's a powerful sort of pose, and it works well for me, that one. Here's the first of the heavy weapons, and I think these heavy weapons sculpts are so cool. Like, I love the way that sort of the hand is stabilizing the top handle here. I really like these helmets. Seen these before with the, I think the Sisters of Talliarius. They're more sort of fantasy range of female warriors from Shieldwolf. I like the pose. And to me, this is one of the sort of cooler minis, or the cooler ways to build these minis. Because you can do these whatever way you want. There's so much extra stuff. They're all ball and socket joints, so any arm will fit into any body. And look how cool she looks. Dual wielding these, what kind of submachine gun? This, I guess, like a bolter pistol and then a bolter. I don't know quite what she's firing at, but she's doing it in an incredibly dramatic way. Maybe there are Tyranids or something coming in, or some orc flyboys or something coming over the parapets, and she's just lighting them up as they appear. But I love this. And this is what I mean about being able to build these whatever way you want. You could have them all like this if you wanted, which is super cool. And then check this one out with the full-on cross in one hand, the sword in the other, and to all intents and purposes could be a fantasy miniature apart from this huge imperial-looking backpack. And here's an example of how a very subtle sort of turn of the head can add character to the miniature. This sort of is just kind of tilted off to one side as she's staring over the battlefield. She's got her bolter cradled with both hands. And here you've got one reading from some holy book. She's got the bolter pistol up beside her face. She's got this really cool face armor on. And I love this. I think it's a great pose. A great use of the accessories. And yeah, you can just imagine her sort of on top of a tank riding into battle, preaching from the word, and about to get stuck in. And I should mention that I put these onto 32mm MDF bases rather than the supplied 25mm plastic. I just kind of liked that with the span of the legs here, I felt they sat more comfortably on 32s rather than 25s. My friend over at wode.ie, that's WODE.ie, Wode Ireland, he actually provided these 32mm bases. He does a lot of MDF wizardry, I think is the term, but well worth checking out. And another one of these sort of single-handed deals. I think this weapon's going to kick a bit, but I'm sure it'll be no bother. And another one here that I haven't drilled, but I will get to those. And another type of accessory we haven't seen yet is this very cool hammer. And again, just showing the variety that's available within these kits. I mean, you can really sort of customize this out to match whatever way you want to build your army. I mean, look at this gun. It is just too cool. Looks kind of like a heavy flamer. I love the way she's braced back to sort of carry the weight of it. Again, really dynamic pose. Got the face mask on there. Things like the pauldrons and stuff go on separately. Backpack, with everything pretty much here goes on separately. I think the legs and the torso are one piece. I love this with the sword, the bolter, the posture. You can see the sort of the pauldron rays. These pauldrons can be at any angle as well, which is kind of cool. You could leave them off completely. You could have just one on. But yeah, I like the way that one worked out too. And then we've got like dual wielded. I think they're both shotguns. It's hard to tell. But for me, they're shotguns. And I love this posture. It's just like dual wielding shotguns walking into battle. Very, very cool. I went for a non-helmeted head with this. And the only criticism I would have with the sort of face sculpts is they're all very serene. Like, there's no battle cries here. They're all just completely, like, chilling. So when their bodies are saying that they're in the middle of a huge battle, their faces should be... You should at least have the option of a little bit of emotion there in the face. These are religious zealots, after all, so they're going to be passionate about what they're doing. And here's another example. You can see she's utterly serene. I love this haircut as well. I think it works really well in the miniature. But yeah, let's get some emotion into these faces. Even if they're just sneering or shouting, just something to sort of say they're into what they're doing. So here again, you can see how very slight changes in the way that the head is placed give it a totally different dynamic. And then the last one is another great example of what you can do with all the bits and pieces that come here. Reading from the book, the sword is primed there, ready to slice out some justice. I'm loving again the sort of the haircut in this one. And then we have some scrolls attached to the backpack here, which are other accessories that come with it. And you've got a cross here on the hip. So these are sort of examples of accessories that don't have hands attached to them, so you could just stick these anywhere you want. And yeah, I think a really cool miniature to finish on there. Lots going on, and a lot of uniqueness here. And really, that's down to you. You could have these all looking exactly the same if that's how you want to build them. You can have them all with the same weapons. I think there's enough to cover them. Certainly, I've got a bucket of stuff left over after this build. But no, I think these are great. I think they fit into the aesthetic of Warhammer's Adepta Sororitas miniatures. They're certainly scaled to them. And I think there's so much to take away from this about how to make a kit massively modular, but still keep it an interesting building experience. Just a couple of things to note is that this doesn't come with any instructions. It doesn't even come with an image of the miniatures on the box. You would have to go to their website to see any miniature images, and there aren't many of them there either. But that being said, you can just go with the basic human anatomy of where a right hand goes, a left hand goes, where the head goes. You don't really need instructions for something that is as massively modular as this. You're going to have a bunch of heads, a bunch of right hands, a bunch of left hands, with weapons or without. It's just up to you really how you want to build them. Maybe this video will be handy for giving you some idea of what they can look like and what you can do with the accessories. The other thing that I've already said is that the faces need a little bit more emotion in them. The ones without face masks, like I said, they're just too serene. They're just lacking in any kind of facial expression. Just needs a little bit of a tweak, that. And then the only other criticism I have is that the separate hands that are included in this, the tiny little left hands, are an absolute pain. They are way too small. Their wrists are way too long. So if you were to connect them on as they come off the sprue, everything looks just strange and goofy, and like their arms are like 4 or 5 inches too long. Number one, you get them off the sprue and they are so tiny that when you're trying to clean up mold lines, they will invariably fall into the floor or into your jumper, and you'll have to go off searching for them. And that's a pain, but it's part of the hobby. Bits fly off sprues, and you will spend probably 1% of your building time looking for something on the floor. But what I will say is that you will also need to just trim off a little bit of the wrist. I think it comes down to sort of personal taste. But I did find that I needed to just trim back on them a bit, dry fit them to see if it looked better. And then when I was happy, I glued them in place, and you just need to be patient. There are only 20 of them to build, so it's not a huge amount of patience to ask, but you will need to do that step. Just hold them in place until they're set and then move on, because those tiny hands will break your heart if you're not careful with them and take your time. Or have a deep pile carpet. That'll definitely break your heart. Anyway, apart from those little things, all the positives more than tilt the balance of this kit in the other direction. This is highly recommended. Great value for money. You can order them directly from shieldwolf.com from Greece. I have ordered directly from Shieldwolf in the past. I think I actually ordered this particular box from mightylancergames.co.uk. There is a affiliate link in the show notes below. And other independent retailers will sell them as well. But yeah, you can absolutely order these directly from Shieldwolf. And I think it's just a really interesting way of bulking out an Adepta Sororitas army. And as you can see, they're very well made. They look great. And you're not dealing in resins here. You don't have that pain. This is hard plastic, polystyrene, so it sticks together with the normal plastic cement, the polystyrene glues. But these were a lot of fun to build. They took ages because there are just so many component parts. But it's kind of cool because you can build a narrative into each one. And if you choose to, you can build each one in a completely unique way. And I think that is amazing, especially when you compare them to the more monopose design of miniatures that are available for Sisters of Baal, Adepta Sororitas types of armies, and many other armies. There's a lot of monopose stuff out there. This is the polar opposite of that. You just couldn't get further from monopose than going with Shieldwolf miniatures. Sisters of Faith. But that wraps it up. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got something out of it. If you have any questions, put them into the comments below. I always love answering those. Please like, share, and subscribe if you're enjoying the content. But until we meet again, take care and bye-bye.